When I was a child, I had difficulty fitting in with my peers. I liked to keep to myself, focusing only on my little obsession of the day. My mother and I had moved after a family divorce, and in doing so, we had little money, and that had put a strain on our resources. We had our own televisions, but no cable TV, and we were both struggling from the breakdown of the traditional American family. And so, of course, we sought distraction. While we weren't able to buy any video games, my household had a weekly tradition. Blockbuster Video, library of distraction. On each wall, video after video of 2-hour time capsules into another world would appear. My mother, being wise in her years, viewed her choice of film carefully, but I was in the market on capitalizing distraction. What's a 2-hour film when over here, in the gaming section, I could continue to eat my fill long after the setting of the sun? 6 hours? 12 hours? 100-hour titles would exist filling the shelves, all opening my eyes to vast experiences. Every rental was a door to a different reality. The games I played didn't follow the same rules for both their worlds and my interactions with them. At one point, I could be playing an FMV game with real actors living in a world I could explore, but at the cost of gameplay. Where I could go to the platformer, the joys of motion but longing for characters and world building. The JRPG could solve my craving. I would spend weeks, months with these characters that I would soon call friends. This tradition would become ritual. The most exciting, thrilling moment of the week was to look and discover all the new ventures that laid before young me. I would comb through the aisles, staring each and every box art down, flipping back and forth to read as much as I could, and try to constantly challenge my preconceived ideas about what would be considered a world worth visiting. However, one day, my rituals came to a halt. A slip, a shattering, a broken leg of unimaginable pain. I had laid in my bedroom, in a cableless environment with nothing but my Game Boy. Tired from the day's events, I spent my Friday alone. Knock, knock. My mother comes into the room, holding something behind her arms. I bought you a game. I wouldn't know it then, but my newest obsession would also become my weirdest by far. Let's talk about video games, y'all! Eggs of Steel, Charlie's Excellent Adventure, I get it. Localized to Hello Charlie in Japan, was a PlayStation 1 platform/psychological horror game released exclusively to Blockbuster before they realized they wanted to make at least some money back. The game was developed by the visual effects team Rhythm and Hues, who by that time was mostly known for their work on the film Babe. Not to be confused with the sequel, Babe, Pig in the City. Because the PlayStation allowed for games to be printed on CDs, the cost of getting into the video game industry were at an all-time low. Many fresh faces would begin to appear, but none would have the unique perspective that Rhythm and Hues would have. This was a team that came from visual effects. They already had an understanding how to make beautiful visuals and had an advantage in the space that very few new developers would be able to match. The thinking was simple. These were talented, award-winning people. If they could bring these strengths into the gaming medium, they could have an advantage in this space never before seen. The pieces were here. How hard could it be? But to create a world is to create a character, an anchor to the story. A gaming character, no. An animated character is nothing if not their silhouette. The team sat, pondered. The PlayStation 1 is not a powerful piece of hardware. Minimalism is key, something that would be instantly recognizable for both marketing, gameplay, cutscenes, everything you can imagine. They knew it would be humanoid, but this was the team that knew animation. Why not stick to the standards? Animal mascots were not going to get you noticed anymore, but humans don't have the same universal appeal. The team sat, talked, while watching the film Toy Story. There stood a character, a man, Mr. Potato Head. Eureka! A flash races inside the mind. Potato. Potato. What about egg? Charlie is born. The chicken is not. We know who came first. But who is our lovable egg? A hero? No, it's been done before. Besides, we need a new approach. Video game structure dictates the risk of death and harm on this character. Sounds an awful lot like a cartoon to me. Looney Tunes should take inspiration. The goal should be to laugh. Nobody's laughing at the hero. A victim? That would be mean-spirited. Besides, the jokes write themselves. Charlie should be a spoiled brat. A night watchman at a steel mill seems random, but its setting is built with purpose. The Mom Steel Mill is more of a theme of a location than a base-level design. Like a child going into a car wash for the first time, everything can feel larger and nonsensical. The machinery is the world building. The activation of a single cog can completely change the landscape of the level. All of this can be suspended high above the ground, over an endless void to the bottom. If the player were to slip, well, we all know the story of Humpty Dumpty. This world building is nothing without interaction, and Charlie has a couple of tools just for the job. A wrench, the perfect simple weapon, with utility. Added benefit, the wrench is made out of steel, a magnetic material, perfect for level transitions and the occasional gimmick. But what about long-range attacks? Bolts. While it does fit with the theming of repairs, this is an egg that does not bolt things down but merely throws them, creating more of a mess than their attempt to repair. Another spark flashes. We need an inciting incident. Charlie isn't one to clean up messes. He is the bringer of destruction. He is the mess. Through moments of stupidity after moment of stupidity, our beloved Charlie ends up spilling coffee into the infrastructure of the entire office. What started as a safe playground suddenly morphs into a labyrinth of fire and destruction. Will Charlie crack under the pressure? Well, not entirely by his own hand. The machines are haywire, but the system itself has become chaotic. Security in the mill is coming for Charlie, with the intention to kill? Do they know he works for the mill? Or maybe there's some sort of ghost in the shell. We did it. We created the game. We created everything we needed to build the game. Except the game. While Rhythm and Hues were so focused on the cutscenes, the game itself cannot run on good intentions alone. To keep things simple, pre-rendered backgrounds makes the most sense. All of the artistry with none of the sacrifice. On top of that, the gameplay can be broken into different screens, making for easy enemy placement. But what of Charlie's movements? Well, he gets around. No strong answer. Hesitation. Red flag number 1. We have a roll that speedily moves across the level. We have creative levels with machinery. But the movement itself is pretty slow. Accounting for single screens mean the game also has to accommodate for these single screens. They spend so much time designing the world and Charlie himself, they didn't necessarily view him as a playable character. Because of this, gameplay has been bled as an afterthought for design. Gimmicks. That would be our savior. We could have elevators, slides, remote controls. Distraction is the name of the game. Games are about distraction, right? And what better distraction is there than FMV sequences? If your jump isn't reliable, a fun cutscene will be enough to move you from the frustration. What's a better feeling game than a game that makes you smile? Eggs of Steel isn't exactly a linear game either. The hub worlds offer different routes to levels and bosses, in the sequence the player wants to traverse. The impressiveness goes out the window when the player ends up taking the same paths in the same order every playthrough. So all that's left are gimmicks, and I'll be honest, none of these gimmicks are very fun. Every gimmick the game throws your way is at best mildly interesting and outstays its welcome. The gameplay feels like a gauntlet at times. Not any challenge, but the sheer length of unfun exercises. Oh, but we do have one last trick up our sleeve. Boss fights. Every fight in this game feels, for lack of a better phrase, like a sloppy mess. All encounters are simple puzzles that take no effort to understand how they work. And then, execute. 3 times, 6 times, 9 times, all with different variations on each of the same boss's repeated encounters. Move on to the next section. Every single enemy, including this boss, also loves to repeat their sound bites. making for some of the most annoying audio experiences in gaming history. But who are these bosses working for? The factory? No. BFB. Blast Furnace Bill, an ex-employee who had mysteriously disappeared. Charlie may be responsible for opening the portal to this hell, but BFB is our Satan commanding his army. During our second encounter with Rusty, our true narrative is finally shown to us.
I give up. Please, don't hit me anymore. I never wanted to work for Bill, but he threatened to kill me if I didn't. Think back a few years, Charlie. Your first day on the job.
Huh? Hey! What do these do? Hey, these are fun.
Wait, Charlie, what do you do? Charlie, let's go ahead, Charlie. Charlie, put me down. Charlie, pull me back. Why can't you be more careful? Charlie, pull me back. Charlie, put me down. Put me down. Don't put me down. Don't put me down. Charlie, don't put me down. Put me
Whoa,
down.
hey, look at this one.
Help! Charlie! You killed Bill, Charlie, and now he's gonna kill you.
Charlie isn't just a sloth. He is Sin himself. Blast Furnace Bill is not an unjust villain. He's the victim. With Rhythm and Hughes designed to not make Charlie a victim, they went too far in the other direction. Now we have a murderer as our protagonist. The final level at hand, we're told the only way to contain the spirit of Bill is to insert him into the office's thermos after a baptism of fire. Not before one final fight with the Eggs of Steels themselves. Don't be very impressed, it's just another easy puzzle. In the classic hero's journey, we are told to return only after atonement. The hero will change throughout the journey, growing into a better version of themselves. Eggs of Steel rejects this structure, as Charlie isn't a hero. He just goes back to his full uncaring apathy to the atrocities that he's committed. He returns to where he begins his journey, sure, at his office, but he has no sense of guilt whatsoever. Charlie doesn't have a single line acknowledging the pain that he caused Bill. Having had to work for the first day of his life, he sets to finish the job he should have completed years back. You know, murder. Armed with nothing but his wrench, his container, and convenient bombs, Charlie fights back, and with one final strike, at the innocent Bill. The game's final climax behind us. We witness the end of the game. Charlie is victorious, and all is right in the mill. Eggs of Steel was published, funny enough, by Atlas for the American version, but Enix for the Japanese version, meaning if we ever get a Shin Megami Tensei Final Fantasy game, Charlie better have a damn cameo in it. Rhythm and Hughes would immediately be purchased by 20th Century Fox for their visual effects work. And while they would occasionally dabble in gaming cutscene work, unfortunately, this would be the last time this team would ever work together for any video game production. The efforts of the small game ultimately were not recognized, with scores ranging from 1 out of 100 to, honestly, the best I could find was like a 5.75 out of 10. This game was considered a failure from both a critical and financial standpoint, meaning this team failed to entertain. They failed at making something of value, and history forgot about all the time spent crafting this world and its characters. The door is shut, and this game remains nothing but a punching bag for the very few who remembered it. However, when my mom brought me this game, I had a thought. It's a game where its heart was in the right place. was constantly trying to delight you as much as it wanted to troll you. Every FMV felt like the team were trying to make each other laugh at their work. The story is an extension of that feeling, almost like Charlie was the butt of the joke all along, and you, the player, were in on that joke. Scene after scene after scene of some of the best FMV work on the PS1, with great comedic timing, constantly delighted young me. My mother rented me games. We did not buy games. We could not afford to buy games. But she bought me that one. And to me, Eggs of Steel will always be a cherished memory. It's the memory of BFB. The memory of Charlie. The memory of my mother. Even if the history books won't remember Eggs of Steel, I will always remember Eggs of Steel. Hi, you've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. This is my first video. Hopefully I plan to make more. Please consider liking and subbing. You know the drill. Actually, because this is my first video, any feedback is truly appreciated. Hopefully we keep this train rolling.